prepared; and I proved, by means of documents which she herself had forged, that Leon Massier had stolen the social status of Leon Massier and that his real name was Louis de Malreich. And Louis de Malreich was sentenced to death. And Dolores de Malreich, victorious at last, safe from all suspicion once the culprit was discovered, released from her infamous and criminal past, her husband dead, her brother dead, her sister dead, her two maids dead, Steinweg dead, delivered by me from her accomplices, whom I handed over to Weber all packed up, delivered, lastly, from herself by me, who was sending the innocent man whom she had substituted for herself to the scaffold, Dolores de Malreich, triumphant, rich with the wealth of her millions and loved by Pierre Leduc, Dolores de Malreich would sit upon the throne of her native Grand Duchy. "Ah!" cried Lupin, beside himself with excitement. "That man shall not die. I swear it as I live, he shall not die." "Look out, governor," said Octave, scared. "We are near the town now, the outskirts, the suburbs." "What shall I care?" "But we shall topple over. And the pavement is greasy. We are skidding." "Never mind." "Take care! Look ahead!" "What?" "A tram-car, at the turn." "Let it stop." "Do slow down, governor." "Never." "But we have no room to pass." "We shall get through."
"We can't get through."
"Yes, we can."
"Oh, Lord!"
A crash, outcries. The motor had run into the tram-car, cannoned against a fence, torn down 10 yards of planking and, lastly, smashed itself against the corner of a slope. "Driver, are you disengaged?" Lupin, lying flat on the grass of the slope, had hailed a taxi cab. He scrambled to his feet, gave a glance at his shattered car and the people crowding round to Octave's assistance, and jumped into the cab. "Go to the Ministry of the Interior, on the Place Beauvau. 20 francs for yourself." He settled himself in the cab and continued: "No, no, he shall not die. No, 1,000 times no, I will not have that on my conscience. It is bad enough to have been tricked by a woman and to have fallen into the snare like a schoolboy. That will do. No more blunders for me. I have had that poor wretch arrested. I have had him sentenced to death. I have brought him to the foot of the scaffold. But he shall not mount it. Anything but that. If he mounts the scaffold, there will be nothing left for me but to put a bullet through my head." They were approaching the toll-house. He leant out: "20 francs more, driver, if you don't stop." And he shouted to the officials: "Detective service." They passed through. "But don't slow down, hang it!" roared Lupin. "Faster! Faster still! Are you afraid of running over the old ladies? Never mind about them, I'll pay the damage." In a few minutes, they were at the Ministry of the Interior. Lupin hurried across the courtyard and ran up the main staircase. The waiting-room was full of people. He scribbled on a sheet of paper, Prince Sernine, and, hustling a messenger into a corner, said: "You know me, don't you? I'm Lupin. I procured you this berth, a snug retreat for your old age, eh? Only you've got to show me in at once. There, take my name through. That's all I ask of you. The Premier will thank you, you may be sure of that. And so I will. But hurry, you fool, Valenglay is expecting me." 10 seconds later, Valenglay himself put his head through the door of his room and said: "Show the prince in." Lupin rushed into the room, slammed the door and, interrupting the Premier, said: "No, no set phrases. You can't arrest me. It would mean ruining yourself and compromising the Emperor. No, it's not a question of that. Look here, Malreich is innocent. I have discovered the real criminal. It's Dolores Kesselbach. She is dead. Her body is down there. I have undeniable proofs. There is no doubt possible. It was she." He stopped. Valenglay seemed not to understand. "But look here, Monsieur le Président, we must save Malreich. Only think: a judicial error! An innocent man guillotined! Give your orders. Say you have fresh information, anything you please, but quick, there is no time to lose." Valenglay looked at him attentively, then went to a table, took up a newspaper and handed it to him, pointing his finger at an article as he did so. Lupin cast his eye at the headline and read: "Execution of the monster. Louis de Malreich underwent the death penalty this morning." He read no more. Thunderstruck, crushed, he fell into the Premier's chair with a moan of despair. How long he remained like that he could not say. When he was outside again, he remembered a great silence and then Valenglay bending over him and sprinkling water on his forehead. He remembered, above all, the premier's hushed voice whispering: "Listen, you won't say anything about this, will you? Innocent, perhaps, I don't say not. But what is the use of revelations, of a scandal? A judicial error can have serious consequences. Is it worth while? A rehabilitation? For what purpose? He was not even sentenced under his own name. It is the name of Malreich which is held up to public execration, the name of the real criminal, as it happens. So..." And, pushing Lupin gradually toward the door, he said: "So go back there, get rid of the corpse, and let not a trace remain, eh? Not the slightest trace of all this business. I can rely on you, can I not?" And Lupin went back. He went back like a machine, because he had been told to do so and because he had no will left of his own. He waited for hours at the railway station. Mechanically, he ate his dinner, took a ticket and settled down in a compartment. He slept badly. His brain was on fire between nightmares and half-waking intervals in which he tried to make out why Malreich had not defended himself. He was a madman, surely, half a madman. He must have known her formerly. And she poisoned his life. She drove him crazy. So he felt he might as well die. Why defend himself? The explanation only half satisfied him; and he promised himself sooner or later to clear up the riddle and to discover the exact part which Massier had played in Dolores' life. But what did it matter for the moment? One fact alone stood out clearly, which was Massier's madness, and he repeated, persistently: "He was a madman. Massier was undoubtedly mad. Besides, all those Massiers, a family of madmen." He raved, mixing up names in his enfeebled brain. But, on alighting at Bruggen station, in the cool, moist air of the morning, his consciousness revived. Things suddenly assumed a different aspect; and he exclaimed: "Well, after all, it was his own look-out. He had only to protest. I accept no responsibility. It was he who committed suicide. He was only a dumb actor in the play. He has gone under. I am sorry, but it can't be helped." The necessity for action stimulated him afresh. Wounded, tortured by that crime of which he knew himself to be the author for all that he might say, he nevertheless looked to the future. "Those are the accidents of war," he said. "Don't let us think about it. Nothing is lost. On the contrary, Dolores was the stumbling block, since Pierre Leduc loved her. Dolores is dead. Therefore Pierre Leduc belongs to me. And he shall marry Geneviève, as I have arranged. And he shall reign. And I shall be the master. And Europe is mine." He worked himself up, reassured, full of sudden confidence, and made feverish gestures as he walked along the road, whirling an imaginary sword, the sword of the leader whose will is law, who commands and triumphs. "Lupin, you shall be king. You shall be king, Arsène Lupin." He inquired in the village of Bruggen and heard that Pierre Leduc had lunched yesterday at the inn. Since then he had not been seen. "Oh?" asked Lupin. "Didn't he sleep here?" "No." "But where did he go after his lunch?" "He took the road to the castle." Lupin walked away in some surprise. After all, he had told the young man to lock the doors and not to return after the servants had gone. He at once received a proof that Pierre had disobeyed him. The park gates were open. He went in, hunted all over the castle, called out: no reply. Suddenly he thought of the chalet. Who could tell? Perhaps Pierre Leduc, worrying about the woman he loved and driven by an intuition, had gone to look for her in that direction. And Dolores' corpse was there! Greatly alarmed, Lupin began to run. At first sight, there seemed to be no one in the chalet. "Pierre! Pierre!" he cried. Hearing no sound, he entered the front passage and the room which he had occupied. He stopped short, rooted to the threshold. Above Dolores' corpse hung Pierre Leduc, with a rope round his neck, dead. Lupin impatiently pulled himself together from head to foot. He refused to yield to a single gesture of despair. He refused to utter a single violent word. After the cruel blows which fate had dealt him, after Dolores' crimes and death, after Massier's execution, after all those disturbances and catastrophes, he felt the absolute necessity of retaining all his self-command. If not, his brain would undoubtedly give way. "Idiot!" he said, shaking his fist at